So, babe, what do you think of this top and these pants together?
How you gonna get fired on your day off?
Huh? Do the pants make my butt look nice?
Bye, Felicia.
I don't know what you're doing. But it's making me feel bad.
Nobody go in there for like 35, 45 minutes?
What are you trying to say?
You just got knocked the fuck out.
Are you calling me a knockout?
Come on, babe. It's from that movie, like the most quotable movie ever made.
What is...
Friday.
Like this... Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Like the song?
No, not that cheesy song. Friday, the movie from 1995.
Is that the title of it? The Friday the movie from 1995?
No, it's just called Friday, and it's a movie.
Oh, I've never seen that.
You haven't seen it?
You haven't seen it.
No way.
You're out of order!
You're killing me, Smalls.
Fasten your seatbelts.
You're tearing me apart!
Houston, we have a problem.
What we've got here is failure.
Conceivable. God damn you all to hell!
Hello and welcome to You
Haven't Seen It?
The show where you get to hear our marriage and steadily decline as they talk about our most famous and precious movies.
That are movies that I've never seen.
Hi, I'm your host Joey, and this is my co-host Erin.
Hi, I'm his wife.
Yes, she is my wife who has not seen a lot of movies.
It's kind of sad how few movies I have seen.
Are you starting to realize that now?
A little bit.
How much American culture you missed out on just because you didn't like movies that much?
Yeah, it's definitely people reference movies all the time, but I don't get them, and so now I feel like a little bit more American.
Oh, good for you.
Freedom, justice, for some.
I thought you were going to do the Superman thing. Freedom, justice, and the American way.
I have no clue that. I did not know that at all.
Okay, all right. Well, today we're going to be talking about the 1995 movie Friday, starring Ice Cube and Chris Tucker and various other famous comedians and actors. So the movie we're going to be doing next week is, what did you say it was?
Bad Santa.
Yeah, we're going to do some Christmas movies next month, starting with Bad Santa. And if you stay tuned at the end of this episode, we'll play the trailer for it. Or you can just look it up. Or you can just tune in next week.
Yeah. If you want to suggest a movie to us, if you have comments or questions, you can email us at
joeyanderinpod@gmail.com. Erin, what do you know about Friday before we watched it?
The only thing I've ever known about Friday is that my students wanted me to watch it. Last year, I had some of my students. They're not my students anymore, actually. But they said, "Oh, you should see Friday," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know what that is." And they're like, "It's so funny, you'll love it." And so I watched it.
You watched it.
I did.
Did you have any idea what you were going into?
No, not really. I read the synopsis, and I thought it was going to be crazier than it was, but it wasn't.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, my history with this movie is it came out when I was in middle school, or maybe the summer before I went into middle school. But I didn't see it right away. But all throughout middle school, I constantly heard everybody quoting it, like every day. All these quotes, these famous quotes from the movie, like "Bye, Felicia."
That's the only quote I actually knew before, "Bye, Felicia," but it didn't sound like how people usually say "Bye, Felicia." Like people overly do that line when he was just like "Bye, Felicia."
Yes, it has become its own thing. It was an internet meme for a while, which I'm unfamiliar with, but
that was I thought it was from the internet. I didn't know it was from a movie.
Okay. So for like the first 2 years of middle school, I heard people constantly quoting this movie, and I got to the point where I hated it. I was just like, I don't want to hear you say how did you get fired on your day off again? And they would even people started making up things that weren't in the movie. Like if somebody took something from you, they'd go, man, you just got Debo'd.
What?
Because that character Debo stole people's
okay.
things. And I was just like, oh man, I just hate it. And then I finally caught the movie on like TBS or TNT or something. And I was like, I get it. This movie's fucking funny.
Oh, okay.
You know, like I understand why they were all quoting it now. It's a funny movie.
It's pretty funny, yeah.
And it's quotable too.
I would say it's more quotable than funny.
Okay.
But that's my opinion.
Yeah, maybe it is. But yeah, so that is my background with the movie. Also, I grew up in a large neighborhood in the middle of the city. So a lot of this just reminds me of my own childhood in a way.
Oh, this movie, when I was watching it, it reminded me of my childhood too, because in my opinion, similar to these kind of areas, like low poverty, like areas of cities, is kind of similar to small towns because there's a lot of poverty in small towns. And I saw tons of my peers that barely could afford a trailer house, let alone an actual house. And I mean, there were tons of people around me, somewhat including myself, that like struggled. We were on food stamps. I related it a lot to some of these things in this movie.
Right. Yeah, I understand. And I grew up middle class, but I went because my parents were cheap and didn't want to send me to private school, which I'm very thankful for. I went to, I guess, what is considered an urban public school.
Yeah.
Right. There weren't a lot of white kids going there, and like now those schools, there's almost none.
Yeah, I think I have maybe 2 white kids in my theater classes, of all of my theater classes, and I have over 150 students.
Yeah, and I don't know if people listening to this know, but you teach at the high school that I went to when I was a kid. So that was what like a lot of people around me were experiencing, living in the apartment complexes around town, and what I experienced a little bit.
Yeah, and I see it in my students too.
Yeah, of course you do. And the funny thing, when we were watching it, I was like, this is like my friend, my high school friend and I, Jason, like he was a pothead and I wasn't. And we would always hang out together. And he wouldn't like try to get me to smoke weed, but sometimes I would. But I remember when there's a part where Ice Cube is like, no, man, I drink. And I was like, yeah, that was me. Like I was the one I was like trying to get beer.
For real. When I was growing up, I've never smoked anything ever in my life. Not even a cigarette, not even a puff, nothing. And when I was growing up, like I had friends that smoked, especially I had friends that smoked weed, and they would offer things to me, but I would always decline. But I would not decline a drink for sure.
Yeah. And we would go find a character, well, not a character, a real person like that character, the crackhead character. His name started with an E. Like,
there's tons of crackheads in where I'm from.
Yeah, there's tons of crackheads everywhere.
Yeah.
But we would find a guy like that near a convenience store and would be like, hey, if you go in there and buy me a 40, I'll give you $2. And they'd be like, hell yeah. Because then I can go buy me a 40 too. Yeah. So there's a lot of things in this movie. I was never involved in a drive-by shooting or anything like that. But it reminded me of growing up in the neighborhood. And I spent so much time outside, you know, and you just see like the cast of characters for your neighborhood going by. This movie is really relatable. And that's interesting to hear. It's even relatable to you, someone who grew up nowhere near South Central LA. So that's pretty cool.
I think that's why my students can relate to it, because it's they're such relatable characters.
Yes.
And like you see so many things that you did when you were a child, like whenever he took a whole entire mixing bowl and a mixing like a ladle to try to eat some cereal, and then they didn't even have enough milk. Like, I mean, I remember there were times where I did that exact thing, poured milk, and then there was nothing in there. And then, I never tried to do it with water, but I've heard people do that before.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of people, I'd rather just eat it dry, But I've heard of people putting like soda in it.
Ooh.
Yeah, which just you're desperate, you know. Like
Yeah.
I remember that was something to me. Is like you're home alone on a summer break from school, and you're just
Yeah.
like, oh my god, like what's in the fridge? Oh, I don't want to eat any of this stuff. And yeah, a lot of it's really relatable. Also, Ice Cube's dad like being on his case, and then his mom being like sweet to him, being like, "You're my baby. I'm not gonna rat on you and stuff." It was
And
like,
she does.
she does anyway. But yeah, a lot of parallels to like real life, like anybody can relate to.
Yeah. I think that's what one thing that the movie did really well was made the movie lifelike. It wasn't stale in like boring life. I mean, even though there were some like mundane things that they were doing in it, but like it was like, this is like real life. That's what they did really well.
Yeah. And that was the intention of the movie. This started because Ice Cube and another guy that was involved in rap I've never heard of called DJ Pooh, they came up with a concept for this movie because at the time there was movies like Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood that took place in the same neighborhoods of LA, and it just made it seem like it was just a cesspool of violence and drugs.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to make this movie so that people could see like, oh, you know what? It was normal living there. And it was fun, and it was, you know, you had friends and good people around.
I like that movie more now.
Yeah, I really like
now,
that.
knowing that, like, because, I mean, I guess I'll give my opinions at the very end, but whenever I was watching it, I kind of wrote the note, a lot of nothing happening in the movie. Like, there's tons of nothing happening. And, like, even, like, the drive-by, like, it's very minimal. It's not, like, this crazy... I mean, they do have machine guns, but
Yeah,
you
it's
can
not a
tell that they
crazy-
were not actually trying to kill them.
Yeah, and it wasn't drawn out. Like a lot of movies would have drawn that out to this whole like 10-minute action sequence. It's like they sort of run away and go and hide, that's what I would do if somebody pulled up in the middle of the street and started shooting at me. I would just run and hide.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing about it too, is like you understand their actions. Like when they run after that kid on the bike because he's kicking over their trash
Yeah.
cans, it's like, yeah, I've probably done something like that.
Kicked over the trash cans.
Well, I've been both people in that scenario. It's like the little bratty kid kicking over trash cans, and then like a teenage boy running after like someone's younger brother to be like, hey, you can't do that.
One thing that I really liked, that was very top of the movie, and I thought was so funny, and I had to rewind it because you were in the kitchen doing something.
Right.
That there was a dog head on the wall, like it was like a deer or something, and I thought we should have done that to chicken. But then I was like, that was horrible.
You think we should have mounted my dead dog's head on the wall?
You always said that you wanted to stuff him or like get him taxidermy.
I did, but when his death day was getting nearer and nearer, I was like, I don't want to. It's going to be too painful to see my stuffed dog
I know.
just in the house.
Whenever I saw that, I was like, chicken. We used to have a dog named Chicken, but he passed away this year.
Yeah, he was my beloved dog of 12 years. And I had to have him put down back in May. I was devastated. He was the longest relationship I've ever had.
Aww.
I had him quite a while before we met.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to jump into this movie a little bit?
Sure. I also noticed that the blanket that the parents had, I think my grandma has that exact blanket, or had when she was alive.
I don't remember what the blanket looked like.
It was like a floral blanket. Yeah. But I was like, that looks exactly like my grandma's blanket or my mom's blanket growing up.
Oh.
We have a lot of floral, like my family always had a lot of floral comforters.
Yeah, you guys are big into the floral stuff, I've noticed.
Love flowers.
So the movie starts out and Ice Cube is waking up on a Friday. It's panning around his house. We see his mother and father and his sister, and they're getting up and getting ready to work. And he is going through the fridge and getting a bunch of cereal. And his dad comes in there to hassle him.
Yeah, about not taking the trash out. I mean, all of this whole movie was just everyday life.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I meant to mention like Quentin Tarantino sort of coined a term for movies like this. He called them hangout movies, where there's really not a whole lot going on. It's just a group of people just like
Hanging out.
yeah, doing like the raw mechanics of life. Like a good example of it is The Shawshank Redemption. Have you ever seen that?
Nope.
It's a prison movie, and it's just about a bunch of guys hanging out in prison who are all friends. Yeah, it's a good movie. We should watch that sometime. I think it won an Academy Award. But anyway, his dad hassles him and says, like, every time I come in the kitchen, you're in the kitchen. And tells him, like, I want to eat.
And also, the funny thing is the dad's constantly eating through this movie.
Yeah.
Like, every time you see him, he's like popping grapes in his mouth and smacking on them.
Which is a great...
I hope that was good ASMR for you.
Which is really good. I want to know if that was his idea. The actor, John Witherspoon, he's really funny in this movie. And in sequels, they would use him even more. Like, he wasn't in this a whole bunch, but like in the other two movies, he's in it even more.
There's 2 more movies?
Yes, there is Next Friday and Friday After Next.
Oh.
I really like that naming convention, too.
Yeah.
So then we meet his mom, and his mom's very nice to him.
Yeah, she's like, oh, he's my baby. And he asks her to not snitch on him to his dad.
Because he lost his job.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, no, I would never. And then his dad calls him into the bathroom where he's taking a dump.
Yeah.
And she clearly told him.
She did. And then he says the line, how are you going to get fired on your day off? Which everybody knows. That's one of the quotable lines from this.
I've never heard that one before, but I trust you.
Well, you don't know the movie.
True, but I also, true. Also something, oh my God. People may have quoted it, but I had not realized it. You know?
Yeah. And then we meet his sister, who they kind of have a rivalry going on. They kind of pick at each other.
Yeah.
So we get the full family dynamic.
And even the girlfriend that's like,
that's right.
what is she? She's like paranoid that he's cheating on her constantly.
Yeah, and every time she's on screen, they play that Hoochie Mama song.
Yeah.
Hoorah, hoorah, Hoochie Mama.
Literally, whenever she pulled up, I started giggling.
Did you see her nails?
Yes.
Her,
I
like,
made a comment about them, and I was like, that is that stereotype that everyone does of the long curved nails.
Yeah, and it creeps me out.
Did it start here or did it
like
start somewhere else?
I don't know where it started. I just know that it creeps me out when I see nails out. So then what happens?
Oh, I just one thing that I loved one of her lines was her sister-in-law cousin's Tracy.
Her sister-in-law cousin's Tracy.
Her sister-in-law's cousin Tracy.
Because that's how people talk in your neck of the woods, right?
Yes, people are like, "Oh my
half cousin stepsister."
Yeah,
like yeah.
my half cousin stepsister's brother-in-law Donald said this about you.
Yeah, that's something I don't hear in my family, my tiny little family.
Yeah, well, growing up in such a small town, it's everyone, so you're like, oh yeah, I know him. When someone says my sister-in-law's cousin Tracy, you're like, oh yeah, I know Tracy.
Yeah, and then we meet Chris Tucker's character Smokey, and that's when this movie really starts to take off because their dynamic is what really pushes this movie forward.
I wonder what Smokey's real name would have been.
They never say.
Exactly. I'm very curious.
I don't know. But then we find out that Smokey took some marijuana from a drug dealer.
Yeah.
With the intent to sell it, but he just smoked it because he's a big old pothead.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where the problem comes in. For the rest of the movie, they kind of revisit it over and over again. But they don't really make a big deal out of it until like the third act, I've noticed.
Yeah. Well, at first, like after he says like, "Oh, I'm going to kill you if you don't give me my money," Smokey's like, nah, I can deal with Big Worm. Like Worm ain't nothing. He ain't going to do nothing. And then so he was, I think, putting it off because he was like, I'm not worried about him. Because, I mean, you look at him and you're like, that's not a big thug. He's got jerry curls. And he comes up in curlers, which I
Yeah.
thought was so funny.
Yeah, he shows up in curlers, and then the next time you see him, he's got like
Beautiful curls.
beautiful locks. And then Smokey walks up to him and he goes, "Oh, hey, big worm."
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
Yeah, I heard
That was so funny. Yeah, and then as the movie goes on, you're just introduced to more and more characters. Like you meet Smokey's mom, and she's just in her house on the phone. Mm-hmm. And I remember my friend Jeremy and I always used to look up this part on YouTube where she's on the phone, and she goes, she's not talking on the phone, and then she puts the phone back up to her ear, and she goes, "Ha ha, yes I did." It's so funny. It's a funny line delivery. But I saw it this time. And I was like, oh, Jeremy and I used to look that up on YouTube all the time.
Also, the line, "You got knocked the fuck out." The way he laughed, he looked like a Muppet. His arms like flailed behind him, his back
Yes.
bent. That I thought was, I see my students do that all the time. And so I thought it was really funny.
The way Smokey did it?
Yeah, like they like throw their hands up in the air and laughter, and it's so funny to see that. They'll like, I literally have students that will run around while they're laughing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So.
It's the Def Comedy Jam type thing.
Yeah.
Like where you just see the crowd like jump up, start laughing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. Yeah. And then we also, there's a little flashback to kind of explain like who Debo is.
Yeah.
He's like the neighborhood bully, and he steals things from people. He is played by Tiny Zeus Lister. You ever seen him before?
No.
This guy, he's been in a bunch of stuff. Most notably, one of my favorite movies, No Holds Barred, with Hulk Hogan, the WWE movie.
Yeah.
You know that one I'm always watching?
Is he just cross-eyed, or did he do that for the character?
No, that's how his eye actually
okay.
looks. There's some funny stories I've heard about him. Like multiple people have worked with him and said that he'll just show up on set and he'll go, "I need Taco Bell now." And then I heard another one where he asked for a chicken Caesar salad. Just weird.
He looked so like tired when he was like when he came up to someone, he was just, I don't know, maybe it was.
I don't think he's a trained actor. I think the fact that he's this real big dude and he's got a scary look
Yeah.
is what got him roles.
Yeah.
Because he would, like, one of his first movies was No Hold Barred in like 1989.
Mm-hmm.
And he just plays a wrestler who doesn't talk,
Oh, okay.
who beats up Hulk Hogan. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he has like 2 lines in the whole movie. But then we find out that Debo stole a guy's bike, and then when the guy asked for it back, punched him in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his dad was in the car with him, and he was like, we're sorry.
Yeah, his dad can't even stand up to this dude. This movie's hard to talk about.
It is very hard to talk about, actually, because like it's so ordinary.
Yeah, it's kind of like just one vignette to the next, and I keep forgetting what each one is.
Well, I mean, the next vignette is where they see Mrs. Parker or Mrs. Jones. I don't know which one it is. I think it's Miss Parker.
Miss Parker, because Miss Jones is his mom.
Yeah, so Miss Parker, and she's like this, she's wearing like booty shorts and like a crop top that shows off a bunch of cleavage, and like everyone's gawking over her.
Yeah, she's
And
like
then they go
the
back
hot
and-
lady on the block.
And then they go back to his house, and Smokey offers him to smoke some weed, and he says, I'm not a smoker, I'm a drinker.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened. It's very mundane.
It is. It doesn't really move along at a good clip, but you just keep getting introduced to these characters. And then the one part you skipped over was they go to the store, and that's where they run into the crackhead, and he's like, let me wash your car. Oh, man, this happened to me the other day. So I drive a work truck for my job.
Yeah.
A big, ugly, yellow work truck. And I was in the line at Whataburger, and some dude comes up to me and was like, hey, can I wash your truck? And I was like, no, sorry. He's like, can I like wash your wheels or something? And I was like, it's a company truck.
Yeah.
It says the name of the company on the side of it. I'm not going to pay you to wash somebody else's
Yeah.
truck. It's just so weird. He's like, okay, man, sorry. And just walks away.
Yeah. I mean, on our block, on several of the blocks around us, like there are people that are asking to wash our windows. We like last Saturday or Sunday or something, we were on Westheimer and we were turning down a street and this lady was like, let me wash your windows. And we were like, no, we don't have any money. And she yelled like, you're so ungrateful. And
yeah, I forgot about that.
I can't remember exactly what she yelled at us, but it was like, lady, I don't have any money. I don't want you to do it if I'm not going to give you any money.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Like most of the time they're just like, okay, fine. But every once in a while you get that one who's just like, I don't know.
It's always a dirty looking white lady. That's what I've noticed.
Oh, okay. But
I've had another woman do the same thing to me. She looked very similar actually. But she was trying to wash my windows and I was like, no, I don't have any money. And she goes, you could be in my place one day. And I was like, okay.
Technically, they are right. You could be.
I could, but I don't have money for you.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I don't carry cash
Me
ever.
either. Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, so I just really don't have anything to give these people. And if I did, I would be out so much money because people are constantly asking me.
Constantly.
Yeah, I've had a few people yell. One time there was this guy and he was walking in between the cars, you know, where the little dashes on the road are, and he didn't have any shoes on for some reason. And then all the cars, nobody gave him anything, and all the cars took off, and he's like, fuck you, fuck all of you. Holy shit, man. I think maybe somebody probably stole his shoes, if I had to guess. That's why he didn't have any. Pretty fucked up world.
Yeah.
But anyway, this guy, they go into the store and he pretends to fall down.
Yeah.
And this is another one that people used to quote all the time. My neck, my back, my neck and my back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I used to hear that all the time when I was a kid. And then the guy's like, come on, man, the floor isn't even wet by you.
Yeah. He's like, well, he asked for something.
Oh, I don't
He's
remember.
like, I'll take $200,000. And then he says like, or I'll just take 40 or something like that. Also,
I think a 40 of malt liquor.
No, yeah, I knew that. I don't even think he says that though. I can't remember what he says, but he like is like, oh, I'll take this though. If you won't give me that, I'll take. Oh no, he goes, I want $150,000 in settlement, or we can sell it now for $20. That's what he says. I thought that was really
good.
funny.
That character was great.
He's a funny character.
And I really like the actor who portrayed him.
Mm-hmm.
He really did a fantastic job. And I like the way that they don't be like, this guy is a criminal piece of garbage person. It's like, no, he's just addicted to crack.
Yeah.
And so he's like always trying to play an angle.
Oh, always.
Yeah. And everybody's just like, you're a nuisance. All right. I'll let you wash my car later.
Yeah.
You know, that is definitely something I liked about that.
Mm-hmm. And then later on, they get back to his house, and then Felicia comes up and asks to like borrow a VCR or something.
Yeah. She's just the mooch, like the neighborhood mooch.
She's constantly trying to ask for things that people have to borrow them.
Yeah. And oh my God, I knew so many people like this who would just like come over to your house, like when you're eating breakfast, and like, hey, you eating breakfast? Oh, you gonna go have your Pop-Tart?
Yeah. I mean, I had family that was like this. Literally, they would come over to our house and be like, hey, can I borrow your tractor? And because, we lived on 20 acres of land. So we had like some equipment and stuff. But like they would be like, oh, like, well, can we come over? Can we come over and just stay the night one night? Like, I don't know how many times we had random people stay at our house. There was this one guy at one point who he was an alcoholic, and my mom was like, he's got to leave. Because my parents aren't drinkers. Like, they'll have like a sip of wine every night. They're Catholic, so they have a sip of wine once a week. But like, they don't drink. I'm not a big drinker either. But he was an alcoholic, and he would come home, or he would come to our house because he stayed with us for maybe like 6 months. like a long period of time.
Wow, that's
And
a long
He wasn't
time.
even related to us.
Yeah, your dad, I can see him doing that, like that.
He constantly
Because he just wants to have somebody to talk to.
Yeah. He constantly would have people that we had no clue who they were, come stay at our house. Like there were some times where it was like family, like, oh, like we couldn't afford our rent anymore, so we had to leave somewhere, so we need to stay someplace. He was the first one people would go to because they knew he would say yes.
Right, yeah. No, my family was like,
Which I mean is nice. Like it's nice for like family members every now and then, but it was constantly like we always had people in our house.
no, with my family, it was a complete opposite. If like one of my family members was in need, my parents would never
Yeah.
at all. And even to the point where like when their legal responsibility to me ended when I was 18, I was gone.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't even let their own son stay there. So anyway, where were we?
Felicia.
Oh, Felicia. Yes, Felicia is always asking to borrow weird things, and she's also seen as a nuisance,
Yeah.
right? And what's important here is she's kind of hooking up with Debo.
Yeah. She is
Yeah.
hooking up with Debo.
Yeah.
Which Debo then comes later to their house, to Craig,
Yeah.
to Craig's house, and he sees that their neighbor, who's this like stuffy dude,
Yeah.
he sees that his windows up. He's like, his windows open. Let's go inside and steal something. And so he like makes Smokey go into the house to steal stuff, and they steal $200, which is exactly the amount he needed for the drug dealer.
Right. Yeah. But Debo says that's my $200.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that the next door neighbor character, he drove a Corvette and he always dressed like he was going to go play golf?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know this is like a mean term, but do you think he was supposed to be the Oreo of the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Like the black guy who acts like a nerdy white
Yeah.
dude, right? Yeah. I think that's what they were going for with that character.
Oh, absolutely.
And he was always like, stay off my lawn, guys.
And then he trips over his what is it called? His mower.
Yeah, something like that.
But like later on, after Debo is gone, that girl that they see running down the street comes to their house, and I guess she's friends with his sister or something.
Yeah, I believe it's Nia Long is the name of the actor. But she's like the attractive woman who's Craig is kind of interested in.
Yeah.
And she comes over to the house. I forget what for, to see his sister. Was that it?
Yeah, she goes to see his sister, but she's not there. And so she comes inside, and like you can tell that they have like tension amongst themselves.
Right. She seems to like him, but she's also like, she's like, he's got a woman and all
Yeah.
that.
And Smokey's like, hey, he wants to hit that. And she goes, he's got a woman.
Yeah.
Which then she comes up and pulls up, and she's like, she throws this big fit, like, who did you take to the concert? And he was like, I wasn't even at the concert. And then he like calms
Well, that
her
was the
down.
phone conversation they had at the beginning.
No, yeah, but she comes over because of that,
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah, and also she gives Smokey the number for this other girl he wants to hook up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he gets on the phone with her, and she's like, "I look like Janet Jackson."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then later we meet her.
And she's bigger. I mean, they were like, she's huge. And I was like, she's not that big.
No, oh my God, I hated this. Even when I was a kid, when they would make fat jokes about people
Yeah.
in movies and television, I was just like, it's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
It's mean. When Eddie Murphy started making all those fat suit movies,
Yeah.
like Nutty Professor, all my friends loved it. And I was like, God, I hate that movie so
Yeah.
much. I just can't stand it when they make fun of overweight people.
Yeah. I've never liked that either.
Yeah. So there's one problem we had with the movie.
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be an offensive Asian stereotype at the store, but they didn't get into it.
Oh, yeah. He just like pops up, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I thought there was going to be more, and I'm glad there wasn't.
Yeah, same.
So the movie moves along, and
then the preacher comes by.
yes, played by the late great Bernie Mac.
Yeah,
He plays.
I saw his name there, and I was like, he died, didn't he?
Yeah,
Because I mean, I know some people, but not much. I just remember he had a TV. I used to watch the Bernie Mac show.
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's the only reason I know him.
Oh, I used to catch it every once in a while because it came on after The Simpsons for a while.
Oh, okay.
It was a funny show.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, and I like in this how every time he speaks, he does it in like preacher talk.
Yeah.
You know, it's really funny. He's like Brother Craig and Brother Smokey and all that. It's really funny. So Miss Parker catches his eye rather.
Yeah.
So he goes over there and
He's like, let me talk to you about the Lord.
yeah.
And then pretty soon after that, her husband comes by
Yes.
and he's a little person.
Yeah. And this guy's been in a ton of stuff.
Oh, he's in so much stuff.
Yeah, Tony Cox. He was in Bad Santa, Me, Myself, and Irene. He's been in
I've seen him a lot.
Yeah, and he's good too.
But I love that she comes out of the house running in her robe saying, we were just praying, baby. We were just praying.
I didn't catch that part.
Yeah. And she said it like 5 times. Baby, we were just praying.
You went to church when you were growing up. Did you have anybody in your church who was showing up just to like hit on women and stuff?
No.
No.
No, priests can't have relations.
No, I didn't mean priest. I meant just people who were involved in the church, maybe.
No. Not that I know of.
I feel like that's some sort of like film trope.
I think maybe.
But I'd never went to church, so I don't.
Well, I grew up Catholic and like I feel like
Oh yeah, and Catholics don't know how to party, so.
oh no. We know how to party. I don't think so. I don't remember a lot of men in the Catholic Church. I remember a lot of women that were there, which, I mean, made sense. There was a woman at my church that my mom and I suspected had a crush on the priest.
Ooh.
So she was always like volunteering for everything. But she was a nice lady.
What,
like,
Father Ron was his name, right?
yeah, let's name drop.
Well, I'm not saying anything bad about him.
No, yeah. But yeah, my priest was Father Ron.
Okay.
I like Father Ron a lot.
Yeah,
There were
told me
several
about it.
times. There were several times I saw him in regular clothes, and I'd be like, "Hey, what are you wearing?" And it was just like jeans and a t-shirt.
That's like seeing a teacher at the supermarket or
Yeah,
something.
it was very weird because I never saw him out of his like, I don't know what it's called. I'm such a good Catholic.
I don't know.
Like the black with the collar. Like I've never seen him out of his collar.
Okay.
Except like 2 times. And it was when I saw him one time at a gas station. I looked over and I didn't even recognize him. I had to like look like 4 times. I was like, "What? Is that Father Ron?" It was. He was a great priest. He was very understanding, in my opinion, from what I remember.
Right. Me personally, I'm a snake handler. But anyways.
No, you're not. Because if you did, I wouldn't touch you. Snakes are disgusting. Blech.
So I think it's about this time in the movie that we get our second appearance by Big Worm, and he's in an ice cream truck. And all the neighborhood kids are trying to get ice cream from him.
And he's like, "I'm out. I'm sold out." And he's like, "Why are you driving the truck then?"
Yeah, and then so that's when he gets told, if you don't pay me back my money, I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to kill your friend Craig.
And then he says, "Oh yeah, I got your money right here." And he like counts like 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. And he flips it over and starts counting it again. And he's like, "That's just $100. And he's like, "What? Ow. Oh, you know what? Craig's down on his luck. He just got fired from his job on his day off."
Yeah, and it's in the next few moments that Smokey sort of has what you would call a moment of clarity.
Yeah.
Because he's always just playing around and he doesn't take anything
Constantly
seriously.
goofing.
Yeah, goofing. He doesn't take anything seriously. They never mentioned him having a job or anything. And then he's like, fine, like I'll
I'll get you your money.
Yeah, he says, I'll get you your money, but also he says, I'll tell him you didn't have anything to do with it. And if I get dealt with, I get dealt with.
Yeah. Well, that's at the very end when they're in the truck.
No, it's not. They're not in the truck. I mean, some other stuff happens, but I'm just saying around this time, it's sort of like that's the point where it feels like it jumps into the third act.
Yeah.
And that's when the movie is not just like a bunch of vignettes of goofy characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, now this is a movie and now shit is real.
Yeah. So then you find out Felicity and Debo are sleeping together, and he goes into Felicity's room to try to steal back the money, the $200 that he stole, because that's what he needs to give the dealer. And he was super close, but then the crackhead comes in the window to try to steal stuff, and he wakes up Debo, and so they couldn't steal the money.
Yeah, that underwear thing was weird,
Very weird,
but funny. I still liked it. And then the crackhead guy jumps in the window and is like, "Hey, Smokey, what are you doing in here?" But also, it's around that time that Craig goes to get the gun that he's had in his room that they set up earlier in the movie, and his dad catches him with it, and like he has a real heart-to-heart with his son. That
you can't win battles with guns.
Yeah,
nobody comes back.
Yeah, and that was I really liked that moment a lot.
Yeah,
and that's why I think that's kind of like the part of the movie where it really jumps into gear, and it sort of has a message
into second gear.
Whew.
We've been in first gear this whole time. I think at one point we were in neutral.
Right. But like that's just I like it because it's like that's what your dad is for. That's what your dad is there to tell you. Like when you're really about to screw something up, have a heart to heart with you.
Yeah.
And tell you like, hey, you're about to go down a pretty dirty path.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a better way to do it. Because my dad would never tell me something like that.
Yeah.
He would just berate me.
Yeah.
So then at that point,
I also had a question real quick, actually.
Yeah.
So whenever he first does smoke, he takes like 4 puffs. Like he puffs, passes, passes. And he chokes. He chokes the second time. And he was like, "You already high?" And I was like, "Does it only take that much?" I've never smoked anything before, so I don't know what it's actually like.
Well, it's been a really long time since I've smoked. But the way I remember is like you get high pretty quick, especially if you don't have a tolerance for it because you don't smoke it all the time. But if you were going to smoke now, I'd tell you like take a hit and then like wait 5 minutes and see how you feel. Don't just keep hitting it every time somebody passes it to you because you'll get too high.
Oh, okay.
And it's miserable when you get too high. Absolutely miserable. So then they go to make some Kool-Aid, but they're out of sugar.
We've jumped around so much with this movie.
I know. I don't know.
It kind of jumps. It's hard to.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like people want to hear the good parts of the movie. They don't care about the fluffy part of it. Yeah, because we got to some really serious stuff, and now we're talking about sugar and Kool-Aid. That's so funny.
And I loved the comment of like, your family always has one half of everything. You always got Kool-Aid but no sugar. You got peanut butter but no jelly.
You got ham but no burger.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard.
And I was like, I get that.
Yeah, and I read online that Chris Tucker improvised a great deal of his lines, and you can tell, like, because he was a comedian, essentially, but he's very quick-witted and he's very fast, and he really makes this movie because Ice Cube is not a great actor in this. Like he really like in his later movies, he really finds his voice and what he's good at, but in this movie, he hasn't quite found it. Yeah, he hasn't quite found it yet. So I really like Chris Tucker. Because this is a two-hander. Mm-hmm. So Chris Tucker is really like doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And he can handle it too. It's good. I wish he was still acting.
Yeah. He was really fun to watch.
Yeah. And if you're a fan of those Rush Hour movies, you know. Because he was good in those. I think he retired based on those movies.
Oh.
Yeah. Did you ever see Rush Hour?
No.
It was a two-hander he did with Jackie Chan. And that's a really good matchup because you got a Chinese dude whose English isn't great, but he's an incredible physical performer. Mm-hmm. And then you've got this dude who's like a fast talking, sassy guy, you know, kind of like Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop, right? So
Also never seen that.
we're going to watch that one too.
I know Eddie Murphy. I know several. I've seen many of his movies. I haven't seen that.
You love Coming to America.
I love that movie. It's so funny.
Yes. That's an incredibly funny movie.
Oh, I love also whenever after Debo comes by, like I think the second or third time, after the one guy that got beat up by him comes by and he's like, "Oh my gosh, we've been watching the video every single day. It's just your back. We don't even know if it's you, but it's you. Look, we fired you," or something along those lines. And
because they work at like a UPS type place.
Yeah, and Debo comes up and everything, and he like makes him give him his chain, and like he was like, "Why don't y'all stand up for me?" And he goes, Chris Tucker says like something along the lines of like, "Well, I stand up for myself because sometimes he tells me to be quiet, and then I be quiet, but then when he leaves, I stop being quiet."
No, he goes, Debo will tell me to shut the
I
fuck
talk
up.
again.
Yeah, Debo will tell me shut the fuck up, and I'll stop talking. But then he leaves. I start talking again.
Yeah. He says, "I be quiet."
Yeah, okay.
But when he leaves, I talk again.
Yeah, you can tell. He can tell he ad-libbed that too. Man,
Yeah.
it's just,
but like,
it's too perfect.
I thought that was really funny because like, I feel like that's what my kids are like. It's like, Miss Lamb tells me to shut up sometimes. and I be quiet. But then I start talking again.
Wow. Yeah, and then he also said something about, he's like, "I would stand up for you guys." And they're like, "What about that time he was choking me in my backyard? You didn't do anything." He was like, "That was different."
Well, he asks his girlfriend comes over and she tries to like, she was like mad about everything, and he's he like brings her inside and calms her down. This whole time, Chris Tucker has to poop. Smokey has to poop.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so he takes her inside his house and they have a conversation while Smokey's trying to find a bathroom. He even asked Mr. Jones. He was like, "What you got to do? Number one, number two." He goes,
And of course, he's
number two.
eating while this is happening.
It's number two. You ain't going to do that in my house. If anybody's going to take a shit, it's going to be me. I love that dad character.
Yeah,
He's
me
so
too.
funny. And then he goes and poops by the side of the house. And then the crack cat comes up and sees him. He's like, "What are you doing over there?" He's like, "Nothing. Mind your business." Because it looks like from here, it looks like you're taking a shit.
Yeah, and he's like, "Don't tell anybody." And he goes out in the street.
He's like, "I ain't going to tell nobody." And then he goes to the street and says,
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, Smokey's over here taking a shit." He's like, "I won't tell anybody else though."
yeah, he
Or
goes,
something like that.
"Hey, I thought you were going to tell nobody." "I ain't going to tell nobody else though." That crackhead was funny.
Yeah.
But his girlfriend leaves and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about all that." And like, they're like, "Good." And he's like, "Hey babe, can I borrow $200?" And she goes, "Oh yeah." And then, Felicia comes up and asks for something else.
Yeah, I think that's
and
when
sh-
she
and his-
asked to borrow the VCR.
Oh, okay. And then his girlfriend's like, "Who the fuck is this bitch?" And she like throws a fit about it.
Yeah, yeah. And then
She
drives
drives off,
off.
yeah.
So they miss out on their $200 again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did they even get the 200?
They, when after he fights Debo,
Oh, he steals
he's
it.
knocked it out. Yeah, Chris Tucker runs up and steals it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
after they try to steal his money, Debo comes rolling by on a bike, and I don't know why he goes up to them. I can't remember why. But later on, Felicity comes out and sees her sister, which is the girl that he likes, Debbie, I guess. And she's like, Felicia's beat up. I said Felicity earlier. Felicia's beat up. And she's like yelling at him, like, "How dare you do this to my sister? Like, everyone else is scared of you, but I'm not scared of you." And he punches her in the face.
Yeah.
And then that's where the fight ensues, where he's like, "I have my gun on me," and he holds it up to him, but his dad's like, "Give me the gun." I didn't get the flash sequence with the gunshot and like.
Oh, it was just sort of a misdirect. They wanted you to think that he pulled the trigger kind of to just, put your heart in your stomach or whatever. But I think it was just what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they both, because Debo had a knife and he drops it and they're like, we're just going to duke it out.
Yeah.
The funny thing to me watching it this time was like, okay, they put their weapons down, but then like they hit each other with bricks and trash cans and stuff. Yeah. The fight choreography wasn't great, but
it wasn't horrible either.
No, I thought it was effective, but yeah. So Craig comes out on top in the fight, knocks him out. They steal the money, and now like he's the new big dog on the block.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he talks to the girl he likes, whose name I can't remember.
It was Debbie.
Debbie. Oh, okay. I just keep thinking Nia Long because that's the actor.
That's what it said under her thing.
So it looks like they're going to hook up, and he says something about when he wakes up and she can take care of him or something like that. Yeah, so I thought it was kind of sweet. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, oh, look at them making out now. It's kind of like, these two they're gonna hook up. We don't need to see it, but they're going to.
Yeah. You can tell that they care for each other.
Yes.
And then later on, his girlfriend calls and he breaks up with her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he breaks up with her, and then there's one last sequence showing Smokey talking to Big Worm, and Big Worm is like, I'm going to kill you anyway, or...
No, he says, like, I was just doing it to scare you. Like, that's what I heard.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, he's like, I'm going to give you your $200, and then I'm going to go to rehab, because this stuff is messing up my life. And then
he's like, nah, I ain't going to do that.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the end of the movie. We bounced around a lot, but it's
hard to go in sequence.
Yeah, the movie is not, it doesn't have a very streamlined thing. It just kind of...
It bounces around so much.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it takes place in a day, and it takes place linear, but it's so hard to, like, get it in order because there's so many random things that happen, which, I mean, are, like, similar to, like, some basic days from when I was growing up. Like, yeah, several of those things could have happened in one day. Yeah.
It felt real, and also everything they set up, like they picked it, everything they put down in the beginning, they picked it back up by the end of it. And there was an interesting sequence where, they run after the kid who's knocking down trash cans. Mm-hmm. In the third act, they run after him and they catch him. And that's also at the same time, like their luck is starting to turn, like things are starting to move more in their favor.
Yeah.
And I thought that was maybe I don't know if they did it on purpose, but it felt like that to me. It felt like, oh, yeah, like, here's something that's actually going good for them at this time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The movie was made for $3.5 million, which is a very low budget. And it grossed $27 million, I believe.
Wow.
So this movie was a huge hit. They don't make movies like that anymore. I really miss those days of like super low budget movies that were just funny or interesting or had, cool characters in it.
Yeah.
You don't get that
That's
anymore.
what I feel like theater is. You go see shows, I'm not talking about musicals, but like you go see like straight plays, like especially new straight plays, and they're like they're pieces of someone's life.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which I love.
Yeah. I like that a lot too. But you don't see movies like that anymore. Mm-hmm. Even like the most basic comedy movie is going to have like a $30 million budget.
Yeah.
Which is the amount this movie grossed back then. So I really miss movies like this. And Erin, I want to ask you, what is your no bullshit assessment of Friday?
So my no bullshit assessment is it's a lot of nothing. Like there's a lot of things that happen. I have a better appreciation since you told me that it was kind of like a juxtaposed to those movies that are like the hood is bad. Whereas like it's like, I mean, some stuff happens in the hood, but it's not all bad.
Yeah.
Like people have like regular lives. People have hard lives. It doesn't mean they're bad people. Because I loved that it didn't make like the crackhead even, like it didn't make them seem like bad people at all. Because they're not bad people. It just shows you like, hey, people deal with shit and you gotta deal with it. And it did it in a funny way. So I appreciate the movie a lot for what it was. But I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I want to watch it again. You know, it was very simple.
Yeah, I think there's a reason I haven't seen it in so many years. I definitely think it appeals to younger people much more because
because they're going through that now.
Yeah, because my life hasn't been like that in so many years.
Yes,
I wasn't just I can't just spend all day hanging out with my friend Robert.
Yeah,
and us messing around. You know.
Yeah,
we've got too many responsibilities. But I really do like the movie. I was reminded of how funny it was and what great actors are in it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really have much else to say about it besides that. We've got a segment we're going to do, and it is called Recast.
We had a name for it, didn't we?
Movie. No.
We didn't have a name for it?
No, I keep meaning to come up with one. And then when we do the podcast, I keep trying to think of one in the moment, and I can't do it. Because I'm not that clever.
Reboot.
I
don't know. Recast. I don't know. Who knows? Not me.
Reboot the boot.
Reboot, they get the scoot.
Reboot and get the scoot. I don't know what it's scooting to, but that's what we're going to do.
So stupid. Love it.
All right. So what we're going to do is recast the 1988 classic comedy horror movie by, what is his name?
Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell.
No, that's not him.
Story by Michael McDowell.
No, but the famous director.
I don't know.
Who did Edward Scissorhands and stuff.
Oh, Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, yeah. Tim Burton movie, Beetlejuice. All right. So we're going to recast the top 6 billed actors.
Alec Baldwin was in that?
Yeah. But we're going to recast the top 6 billed characters in the movie because it's going to be rebooted. I just got off the phone with New Line Cinema, which I don't even think they made it.
The Golan Company.
The Geffen Company.
Oh, Geffen. I can't read that far.
So I just got off the phone with a representative at Geffen, and he says they want to reboot the movie, and he's going to hire me.
He's going to hire me.
He's going to hire me to produce it, and because of nepotism, I'm going to hire Erin to recast it, despite the fact that she doesn't know actors.
Mm-hmm.
And she may have never even seen this movie. Have you seen Beetlejuice?
I have seen Beetlejuice.
Okay.
I love Beetlejuice. I've seen this movie actually a bunch.
Okay.
And I also seen clips of the musical.
Yeah, the musical looks really good.
You know what? It's about to start touring.
Ooh.
I know. I want to see this so bad.
Yeah.
The music is so funny.
Yeah. I've heard some of the music, and it sounds really good.
Yeah, it's some great songs.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why people are liking it, and it's touring around. So
it hasn't won any Tonys, though. It never won a Tony, even though how good it was.
Who cares?
Oh, no, I'm not saying I care. But it's funny to hear, like, some things that win them. Like, some things win so many, and it's like that one over Beetlejuice.
Those award shows are very political.
Oh, yeah.
I think...
Probably why I don't really watch them, which I bet a bunch of theater people are like, oh, you don't watch the Tonys? No, I don't watch award shows.
I haven't watched the Academy Awards in many, many years. But it's just like the almost never does the right thing win. If you go back like 10 years and look at the Academy Awards, you'll be like, wait, that won when this other movie was nominated? You know? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like Forrest Gump won the year that Pulp Fiction was nominated too.
Oh.
Like, I definitely think Pulp Fiction should have
way
yeah,
better.
Yeah. But anyways, so the first person we're going to recast is Michael Keaton. He has done a lot of work. He's been Batman. He's been Birdman. He's been Vulture.
Man.
He's been Mr. Mom. He's been Multiplied. He's been
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. I can't remember any of those other credits.
So, for this character, if it was produced by Tim Burton again, I think he would put Johnny Depp as that character, but I don't think I don't like that for that role.
No.
He would just seem drunk all the time, which kind of was a part of it, but I feel like whenever I think of Johnny Depp, he just seems drunk constantly. I think it's because the first time I really saw him was in Pirates of the Caribbean, where he was drunk constantly. But I think that's become a trope of it now, of him, which I saw Pirates of the Caribbean before I saw Edward Scissorhands and some of his better work. So my character, the person I would put as this role, you're also going to say, oh my God.
Well, Johnny Depp, I was just going to say, after seeing him try to portray Willy Wonka in that movie, I have been so thumbs down on Johnny Depp.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah.
I know you hate that, but I'm saying if it were to be produced again and Tim Burton was part of it, I think he would put him.
Yeah, maybe. I'm just saying, who would you cast? You're the one casting the movie.
I know. I'm just kind of talking about it. I'm giving you some of where my mind went. So I thought that, and I was like, no, but I don't want him for that. So I would make Jim Carrey. Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it.
He's super goofy.
Yeah.
He's very animated.
Yes.
Which I think would work really well for that character.
I can see it. I can really see it. And I think that's a good choice.
Thank you.
Okay. So next up, we have Lydia Dietz.
Originally played by Winona Ryder, who was the perfect person for that role.
You think so?
Absolutely. She was phenomenal in that role. She's that character.
Well, she got caught shoplifting again, and she can't do it, so you're going to have to recast it.
Well, shit. I do have another version. I do have another character for that member. So for Lydia, I would recast her as the girl from the Craft, the one that was like the mean witch.
I haven't seen The Craft.
Is The Craft the one with like the 3 teenage witches?
Yeah, but I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
You've never seen The Craft?
You haven't seen it?
We have to do that movie. I've seen it. Okay. So the mean witch from The Craft, the one that becomes evil. Nancy Dow? No, that's her.
Oh, Fairuza Balk.
Yeah, her.
Okay.
I could see her as that role.
Yeah, I mean, she'd be too old now, but...
Of course, but...
You know who
her as a teenager.
You know who Fairuza Balk is, though, right? From a movie that you really like?
No.
She's Dorothy from Return to Oz.
Oh, yeah, she is. She is. I love Return to Oz.
So we would cast, when she was that age...
When she was Craft age.
Because Lydia Dietz was, what, a 17-year-old?
She was a teenager.
Okay. All right, that works. Next up, we have Barbara Maitland, played by Gina Davis. She's famous for A League of Their Own.
I love Gina Davis.
A Long Kiss Goodnight. Running out of movies to say that
I would replace her. Oh, she was in The Fly.
She was in The Fly, a movie we've covered.
Yeah. I would replace her with either Isla Fisher or Amy Adams.
Ooh, those are two really good choices.
Really good choices because, hey, are you proud of me that I actually know some of their names?
Yeah.
The only reason I would pick Isla Fisher or Amy Adams, I mean, they have a similar look, but I think Amy Adams would be even better than Isla Fisher, which I love Isla Fisher. But I think Amy Adams brings a little bit more like wholesomeness versus Isla.
Yeah.
That I think would play really well as that character. Because in the Broadway version, they have Carrie Butler, and she's this like, I'm this very wholesome woman, which I really liked.
Right. Yeah, Gina Davis isn't like...
super wholesome seeming. Like she is, but not...
Well, I mean, she just, in that movie particularly, she just comes off like a very normal, nice lady that would be in the neighborhood somewhere. She doesn't come off as like overly wholesome.
Oh, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think Amy Adams would give that extra wholesomeness that would be like, oh, it really sucks that they died.
Oh,
Whereas, like,
okay.
I didn't really care for her dying. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Okay. All right. So next we have Alec Baldwin as Adam Maitland
I do not remember him being that character.
because he was so young and he was wearing glasses. It's like, I know, I forgot too, but he was like really, really young. And like, I think in his more recent movies, he's kind of like settled into like, this is my character that I always play in every movie. But back then, he was still like, I'm an actor. I have to create a new character for every movie.
Oh.
Right? Like he was, I mean,
he wasn't playing himself.
yeah, to be like all layman-y about it, it's like he was more method, where now he's more character actor,
Yeah.
you know?
For Adam, I can't remember his name, but he was Seymour in Little Shop.
Oh, Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis.
Well, Rick Moranis is retired, so
Well, too bad.
we're going to have to offer him a lot of money to get him to come out of retirement.
I don't mind. I think he'd be so funny,
Yeah.
especially with like the nerdiness of him and like Amy Adams being so beautiful and them being like that kind of pair of like, oh, so like such a sweet, like she's so, it makes her sweeter. She's dating this nerdy guy,
Right.
which I think is cute.
Yeah. I like that.
'Cause I
But
really want them to be super wholesome.
Who's the Rick Moranis of right now?
I don't know.
So maybe we could get somebody younger in there.
What does he look like now?
Oh, I mean,
Does he look very old?
he's like my parents' age, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the Rick Moranis of now? Who's the...
That's what he looks like now.
Oh, wow. Okay, never mind.
Oh, that's right. He was Barney Rubble in the Flintstones.
Aww.
Yeah, he's retired. He's been retired from acting for a
He's an
while.
old man now.
Yeah, but
Look how cute he was. He's a little cutie.
yeah, I don't know who the Rick Moranis of now is. Oh, you know who I would say?
Who?
Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd. He was in that show that we watched, Living with Myself, where he cloned himself, and then his old self say a lie, and him and his clone are like trying to fight who's going to have his wife.
The name sounds familiar, but... Oh, yeah. Yes. If you would have said, my dick, I would have known who you were talking about.
Yeah, when he talks about his penis in the mirror and
Pop off a piece of my dick.
how about my exquisite erection? That's the part
Do you
I
like
was
my
really-
erection selection? Yes. If you would have said that, I've been like, him. Yes, that's great. That's great. Especially Isla Fisher with him. I don't know.
No, you said Amy Adams.
Amy Adams with him. I don't feel like they're a good match.
I disagree.
Okay.
But whatever. If you still want it to be Rick Moranis, it can
Rick
be.
Moranis from Little Shop.
Okay.
Nerdy little Rick Moranis.
All
When
right.
he was younger.
So next is Catherine O'Hara as Delia Dietz. You would know her from Schitt's Creek. Yes. And many other things.
Home Alone.
Yes. She was the mom in Home Alone.
She's supposed to be Lydia's mom, or her stepmom. Who did I say? This one's hard.
Yeah, this one is hard. I can't think of anything.
I want like a kooky, like mother-in-law who's like a little crazy.
Right. Oh, I got one.
I can't think of it. What do you got?
Toni Collette. She was in that TV show, like Pieces of My Mother or something. She was the mom in that.
Oh, you know who would be great?
Who?
Kristen Bell.
Oh, that's a really good one.
She's so silly.
Yeah.
I think she would be a great, like, I'm your mom. And it's like, you're so cute.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. That would be good.
And she's older, but she looks young. She looks very young.
Oh, she's still
for her
pretty
age.
young, I think.
She's not like, I'm not saying she's old at all.
Right.
But I think that would also play into like, you're younger than my mother was. Yeah.
But she could definitely play the age. She could definitely play
A mom.
the mom of a teenager.
Yeah. The
Very easily.
The other one I think of is the girl that was in Living in a Van Down by the River.
Oh, Christina Applegate.
Christina Applegate. I think her or Kristen Bell. Either one of those I think would be great for that role.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Christina Applegate just got a star on the Walk of Fame. I saw the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then finally, we have real life pedophile Jeffrey Jones.
Oh my God.
I mentioned that this guy was a pedophile in a past podcast, and I was like, I'm going to check and make sure that's true, and it was.
Okay. So for her dad, I mean, I need someone that's like, I'm wealthy and I'm buying this house as an investment.
Yeah, and remember, they're also like Eurotrash art dealers too.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the thing?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which I think Applegate would play really well.
Oh yeah, she would be great at that.
I think I would choose her over Kristen Bell.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
And who would be her husband? What snotty male actor would be her husband in that?
I feel like, maybe Alec Baldwin. I could see him
The
playing like,
now Alec Baldwin.
I'm a fancy art dealer. Yeah, like I could see him playing that.
Yeah, he could do it. Do you think he's losing his mind right now
Maybe a little bit.
because he shot that cinematographer?
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if he's doing all right. I mean, I
hope
don't see how
he
he
is.
could be.
I hope he feels better. I mean, he didn't do it on purpose.
No, he
You know,
didn't do
it's
it on purpose.
Such a like that's so.
There isn't one part about it that isn't tragic. It's
Yes.
tragedy across the board.
All around.
Yeah. I don't think he's doing well.
I don't think so. Which sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. People put a lot of blame on him, which is.
Well, I mean,
There's blame all over the place.
Yeah.
It's not just on him.
Yeah, I mean, he was producing the movie,
Mm-hmm.
so ultimately everything that happens is
Ooh.
on him
Yeah.
as the producer. So I mean, there is a lot
True.
to blame on him, but
I don't really know all the circumstances, but
yeah.
Michael Keaton could also play the dad.
Wow.
Or it's because I love him. Hugh Jackman.
Oh my god! Every time we do this, you're gonna be like, "I'm gonna get Hugh Jackman."
Hugh Jackman. That's where it's at.
All right, we're gonna get Hugh Jackman, and he's gonna be using his real voice. He's gonna be Australian.
Yes.
And he's just gonna be wearing a black turtleneck the whole time.
Who is there's another actor I was thinking about. I thought, who's the guy from The Shining?
Jack Nicholson?
Jack Nicholson.
Oh, he's way too old.
Oh yeah. I just thought like he could be a funny Beetlejuice.
Yeah, the thing is, you can't put Jack Nicholson in a movie where he's the sixth billed person.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have to be like
Beetlejuice.
yeah,
That's
or
what I just said.
yeah, or Alec Baldwin. He would have to be one of the main characters in
Yeah.
the movie.
No, but I definitely think Hugh Jackman over Alec Baldwin.
You just think that Hugh Jackman can play anything.
Can. He's phenomenal.
All right, well, that's going to do it here for us at
You haven't seen it?
We'll see you next time.
Bye, bitches.